Welcome back. We're back for episode 2 of this week's Under Construction. As always, I'm Vince.
I'm Jamal.
I'm Rodney.
Arion.
And this is Under Construction, y'all.
Once again.
All right. So if you guys watched our segment for earlier this week, you guys kind of got quasi-introduced to Mr. Arion. And this will be our segment dedicated to him. So once again, Arion, if you want to introduce yourself.
Well, time out. We did that wrong. Introduce him again, man. Just one more time.
One more time.
Okay, so Arion, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Give my girl a round of applause.
Hey, I haven't been Molly a couple weeks, so I'm learning. Okay, all right. But like, for those of you that don't know, Arion is the co-owner, the creator, the operator, the head honcho, the HNIC, all of that stuff of Playmar Sports. And I'm gonna leave it right there, and I'm gonna let him take over.
Oh man, I don't know. I think you did all the talking. I don't even know what there is to
tell the people what are Playmar Sports? How did you get into it? Some of the hurdles that you had to overcome to get where you are now.
Oh man, so we have a league. My wife and I started about 3 years ago called Main Attraction Recreational Sports, but it's more commonly referred to by the acronym, which is MARS. Okay. And we kind of got into this. Like about 3 years ago, one of my good friends, he was a groomsman in my wedding about a year or so ago. He lives in the DC area, thank you, and he got into kickball. You know, him and I, we grew up together and played ball in school together and all of that. So a few years back when he got into kickball and was sharing it with me, I was like, man, get out of my face with that kickball. I don't hear about no kickball or none of that. And then he was like, no, man, it's really cool. I was like, yeah, whatever. So I actually had an opportunity to check out one of his games, and when I seen it, it was electric. I was like, whoa. And at the time, Charlotte didn't have anything like that. So him and I, we just kind of connected, and you know, that's kind of how I got into the whole wanting to bring it to the city of Charlotte. Some of the hurdles that we had along the way, obviously when you're starting a new business, you have to worry about the competitors, your competition. So for us, we came in when there were so many other existing leagues in the city going on at that time. What we had to try to do was, one, find an audience, and in addition to that, establish an identity. And being able to do that, you know, we kind of made it through some hurdles and was able to kind of grow the league and build and establish a good reputation. And in the process of that, we also started branching off and offering other activities outside of just kickball itself. You know, we did adult co-ed basketball. We did softball. We even did an indoor kickball league. And we also offered dodgeball at one point, too, which, you know, was one of the more intriguing sports for me. I really enjoyed that. But, you know, that's kind of how we started. And, you know, we look at all of the different sports and activities that we offer. We were able to reach out to a wider range of young professionals, because everyone doesn't do kickball, you know. So for us, we were able to, by offering other activities, we were able to reach out to a larger audience.
So let me ask you a question. So where did your entrepreneurial spirit come from? Like, give me some more on your background.
Oh man, so my entrepreneurial spirit, I think it comes from my family, like my mom and my dad. My mom was in the Navy. She worked. She retired at age 39. So she did 20 years in the Navy and retired at age 39. So for me, just seeing her retire at such a young age, I always knew at a young age, man, I would love to be in a position where I can kind of just do what I want when I'm young. Not saying that I can do that now, but that's kind of like, the mindset. And then my dad, you know, just watching him every day, you know, he's been working for a fabric company, a warehouse that he was a manager of, and he was doing that for a long time. So just watching him wake up every morning, go to work, and, you know, just busting his ass to make sure that he can take care of all his kids, you know, that's kind of where the grind and the work ethic, I noticed that. And then, you know, my siblings, you know, I have four brothers and one sister, so we all around the same age, and we grew up in a very, very competitive household. So that kind of, you know, instilled in me the whole competitive mindset, as far as when you do something, you have to do it to the best of your ability, and you cannot lose. And when you can't carry that over into entrepreneurship, I went to college at Clark Atlanta University, and you know, it was a culture shock for me because up until that point I was living in South Carolina, which is, you know, very country and it's very, you know,
backwards.
So stop. I was living. So
now, my apologies for interjecting, but I just want to point out that this is the second week in a row that we've had someone come on the show and not put South Carolina in the best of lights.
Right.
I just want to put that out there.
No, well, I love South Carolina. You know, I think I love South Carolina, but you know, for me, when I was growing up in South Carolina. You know, it wasn't as fast paced as things are now, especially no internet and things like that. It was, you know, it wasn't as fast paced. Gotcha. So when I went to college, that was kind of like a culture shock for me because now you're taking me out of South Carolina and I'm inserted in Atlanta where it's black success.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you see, you know, young black professionals out there succeeding, and you know, I'm talking about outside of college. I'm looking at the environment around me, and I'm like, man, you know, like. You go to a gas station and, you know, the girl next to you, she's pumping gas and she's driving this, you know, a CLS or, you know, I'm like, you know, so just seeing young black success always instilled in me like, hey, you know, you can do it too, whatever it is that you decide to do, because there have been businesses that I've tried to start and I failed miserably, you know, so I just kind of had to find my niche. And
so what part of South Carolina are you from originally?
So Anderson, South Carolina, which is very close to Clemson, South Carolina. I actually went to high school in Pendleton, South Carolina. Right? Which our regional track meets and things used to be at Clemson, South Carolina. So I'm very familiar with the whole T.L. Hanna. That's where they filmed Radio. The movie about radio was based out of T.L. Hanna, but my next door neighbor actually went to T.L. Hanna. Okay. And that's the school that I should have been going to, but they used a different. I'm like, District 4. Well, the way that they did the district was super backwards. But I actually live closer to Hanna and Westside than I do Pendleton. But for some reason, they sent me to Pendleton. Wow. So.
Now you mentioned earlier that when you were creating Mars, there were you guys had to do a lot to create your brand and your identity because there were so many leagues here in the area. So now that you are established. From then until now, what has the response been like from those other more established leagues?
Oh man, well, we've been well embraced within the kickball community. I'll say that for sure. And I think more so it comes from the players. I think from that time up until now, I think that the leagues, because there are a ton of different leagues, I think that the leagues as a whole, we've all done a great job as far as indirectly working with one another to make sure that we're looking out for the best interests of the player. And what I mean by that is planning our games and our scheduling to where players that want to play in multiple leagues can still do that. So, for instance, my leagues are on a Wednesday and a Thursday night, but there are other leagues out there where they operate on Sundays. You have another league where they operate on Mondays. And I think, you know, that's the way we indirectly work with one another to make sure we say, okay, we're not going to put our leagues on the same night and make a player choose between which league they're going to play in. So, and then for the most part, I think the players as a whole in the community, you know, I think they enjoy it. They embrace multiple leagues because in each league they feel as though there's something that they're getting out of one league that they may not necessarily be getting out of the other. So whether it's for our league, I don't know, maybe it's just a fun, friendly environment and the atmosphere that you like, or if you go to another league, maybe it's the competition that you like from it, and you know it's the high intense competitiveness. So you know, I think that's kind of one of the things that I have noticed from the time starting up until now, which it wasn't like that originally. You know, a lot of leagues was operating on the same days and things like that.
Gotcha. All right, so you mentioned like there's other components with like basketball and dodgeball and things like that. Tell me more about this basketball. So what level are we talking about?
So the basketball is actually pretty cool. So we have a gym uptown right across the street from the Epicenter. A lot of people don't know about it, but there's a gym inside the Omni Hotel. Right? And because it's called the Charlotte Athletic Club. So what we did was I kind of took the whole Ice Cube, the Big Three concept, and we did an adult 3-on-3 basketball league. We even had the 4-pointer, like the decal, where you can have a 4-point league. And we invited out the players to come. And the coolest part about that is the talent really was a wide range of talent. We had everything from school teachers out there playing to semi-pro athletes that play ball overseas. And when you collectively mix all of those players together, it was amazing. It was an amazing environment.
Fun story. I actually played in his basketball league.
What?
And he didn't have my best. You know, I'm a little older right now. I had a few moments, but the last game that we played of the season, it was actually the playoffs. I actually left my knee braces as well as my basketball shoes, and Arion has been trying to get them shoes back to me for like 2 years now.
Man. Oh yeah,
it's been like 2 years.
Still in my garage.
You still got
still in my garage
for like 2 years.
Kind of like a clips in head.
So the important question is that the last time you played basketball?
That might be the last time I played basketball.
See, this is why we have the actual delay on the under construction basketball pickup game.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, can't play right now.
Father Time is undefeated, man.
Yeah, undefeated.
Now, let me get back. I want to get back to kickball because kickball is kind of like the thing in Charlotte right now. Mm-hmm. Can you play?
Can I play?
Can you play? Like athletically?
Oh,
like,
can I play? I'm the best.
You know,
can I play? I play. They call me the GOAT. I'm the GOAT around here.
You the GOAT? Okay.
Now, because somebody walked in here with a trophy.
High gun.
I don't know, man. So
yeah, I'm the best, man. No, I play.
Now, do you play at all?
I don't. You know, for me, one of the biggest things with me is I know how much of a competitor I am, and I know how much of a conflict of interest it can be if I'm out there playing, because I may not be putting the league at my best interest. I may be putting my team and myself in the best interest of personally winning. And for me, I understand myself better than anything, and I know that if I play, the league wouldn't get the nurturing that it needs in order to become successful.
Man,
so I decide not to play.
Can I be the first to kind of commend you on that kind of thinking?
Yeah.
Because I just personally, man, I believe there are a lot of people who run businesses around these parts that put themselves in front of the business.
Yeah, it's
random thought, y'all.
Yeah.
I was passing by somewhere I'm not gonna name, and I saw the owner's picture on the side of the building. I was just like, it's about you with the business.
So, and for me, I just think that it's, I still get my fix when sometimes we have practices and I go out there and have practice with the players and things like that. But for me, understanding what I personally believe it takes to grow the business and for it to become successful, you got to kind of take a step back and put it first.
So, you're speaking about growing the business. So within the next 5 years, where do you see Mars?
Oh man, within the next 5 years, I would like to personally have our organization be the largest kickball organization in the United States of America. But also too, I would like for us to be the number one adult sports league here in the city of Charlotte. You know, so that's my goal. That's what we're working towards, and I think that we're trending in the right direction, especially after this most recent tournament that we did. Turf Wars, I think, is something that's resonating very well with the kickball community, both locally and in various surrounding cities. And we really have a huge opportunity ahead of us to kind of take that momentum and put ourselves in a position to become, that number one sports league.
When it comes to growth, obviously your staff is going to grow.
Absolutely.
So with your current staff now, kind of explain like how is your staff? How is it made up? The ones that are there. How did you go about saying, hey, would you like to come work with me, or agreeing to all of that? What are you looking going forward as far as other people who may be wanting to work with you?
Absolutely. So for the staff is key. When you put together a team around you, you all have to you have to be like-minded.
Right.
And because at the end of the day, if everyone has a different vision, then it's never going to work. Yeah. So for me, I try to associate and align myself with people who have similar way of thinking. Young professionals, good reputation, eager, trustworthy. That's big for me because, with a lot of the things that we plan and prepare, we like to consider ourselves unique and bring new ideas to the table. And these are things that if you're not comfortable with the people you're sharing this information with, it won't work. So if we have an idea and we say, hey, we're thinking about doing this, we trust that these people are going to hold the information close until we can share it. And then in a lot of cases, some of the people who we add to the team, they come to us. They reach out to us and like, hey, we want to help. What can we do? And it's genuine. You can tell that it's genuine. It's not just like, oh, I just want to be like, hey, look, whatever you need. You don't have to pay me. I'm not asking for any money, and I just want to help. And you can you feel that genuine willingness to help, and you invite them in and you bring them in. But that's key,
So another thing that popped in my mind, sponsorship. How did you go about it in actually obtaining some of the sponsorship that you do have now?
Yeah. So with the sponsorships, it's
Wink, wink.
So that discussion could get very granular because there's so many different ways that you could go about it. But for us, I would say just in general, we feel very confident about the product that we offer. Mm-hmm. We feel very confident about what we can offer to the sponsor. And I think with that understanding, the marriage, it just happens organically. Gotcha. You know, I would say that with us being as confident as we are in the product that we offer, we kind of take that confidence. I hate to keep using the same word, but we take that confidence and we you know, we have these discussions with the sponsors, and you know, we I don't want to say convince them, but you know, we sell them on what we're offering. They buy into it. They buy into it, and I think at the end they're happy, and you know, that's a big piece of how we're able to kind of push the envelope and be as successful as we are, because at that point, when you align, when we're able to align these Fortune 500 companies, whether it be Top Golf plug, Dick's Sporting Goods plug, AT&T plug, you know, when we're able to align these companies with our brand, you know, it's like having a cosigner with an 800 credit score.
Yeah, no doubt.
They're gonna give you the vehicle. They're gonna give you the keys to the vehicle, and you know, that's kind of how.
So, what have been some of your biggest hurdles throughout this process?
Some of the biggest hurdles throughout this process that a lot of people didn't have a chance to see is being told no and losing fields. We originally started off our kickball league at Park Road Park.
Yeah,
and that was actually a league where we had just came out the gate and we were doing very well. I mean, up until the point where in our second season we had 14 teams and we were rolling. And then we got hit with a roadblock. We got hit with a challenge where they said, hey, you got to find a new park because we're about to close this down for a year and we're renovating. And the part that was hardest for that was it was in a location where it really worked for us to operate in that area, because players were able to, you know, navigate and get there pretty quickly. So we noticed that once we switched locations, we moved to Ballantyne and we lost, I want to say 40 to 50% of our business like that. We just, because of location, it was tough. And through that, you know, you still try to be creative and do different things to really get that business back, but it wasn't working. So that was one of the things where it was a tough challenge. Like, man, you go from 14 teams and now you're down to 6, or you're down to, and it's like, how do we get this business back? So you got to get to the drawing board. And then another thing, another tough challenge that we had was we wanted to do a tournament kind of like the Turf Wars that we just did this past weekend. I actually thought about doing that about 2 years ago, something very similar to that whole idea. We had the perfect vicinity, we had the perfect location, and they were like, no, we're not going to let you do it. You cannot do it. It's like, why? And I felt like we were in a position to really do it and be successful, but they told us no. So for me, those were some
reason why.
It was just a lot of politics at the time. I think that you know, it's one of those things where they look at you and they say no to me, but it was another, you know, they give you the thumbs up. So, you know, but I would say that in hindsight, you know, those was two of the best things that has ever happened to us, because losing Park Road, then ended up having to go to Ballantyne, and then seeing all of the struggles that we had there, I may not have necessarily converted my entire league over to turf. If I was still at Park Road, I've just been. So I was able to rebrand the league and the surface that we're playing on, and just the whole experience. And then you look at my league play, which is now on a turf field. It was able to kind of transition into Turf Wars, which became the biggest tournament in the Southeast. So locally, you lose your park, and then this company tells you can't do your tournament here, and it's like, now I'm doing both. You know,
even better.
Even better.
So I'm gonna ask you this question. So if I'm digging into secrets, don't answer it. Okay. So there's gonna be a Mars Raleigh, Mars Charleston,
oh man,
Mars Baltimore.
So I honestly, that there's no secret to that. That's the vision. That's the goal. Okay. You know, we've had investors from New York reach out to us, and we've had a lot of people that, you know, kind of want to take this Mars brand under their wing. For me, I just want to make sure that it's when you franchise something that you want to make sure that you put your baby in the hands of someone who's going to be able to take care of it the right way with the same vision that you have. So I haven't been as eager and as quick to kind of jump on the expansion until I'm comfortable enough to say, okay, I think we're ready to do it. But definitely don't want anyone messing up the brand, especially when it's this near and dear to me at this point. But moving forward, definitely having a Mars, some type of presence in other cities is definitely something that we've been talking about and that we're interested in doing.
How did you market this? How did you sell it? How did you get the word out, so to speak? In the beginning.
In the beginning, well, the fact that when I first started getting into kickball, like in 2014, 2015, I played. I played kickball in various leagues. So I think the fact that I was a player and already in the existing kickball community, that helped me tremendously because the word of mouth, I was able to tell players from that played with me about what I was trying to do and what I was looking to start up. And then I also just kind of just studied the population of Charlotte, and I knew that Charlotte is a city that's big enough to where there can be as many leagues as they want. There's still enough to go around. You just have to go out and you have to know what audience you're going after. So the age range and the demographic and all of that.
Now you operate kickball, basketball, dodgeball,
softball too.
Softball. Why is this entire conversation strictly kickball?
I think this entire conversation is strictly kickball. One, because it's our bread and butter. It's our biggest platform. And then two, it's the one out of all of these activities, the one that's most unique.
Okay.
Basketball, there's nothing, basketball is basketball, and so is softball and even dodgeball. Dodgeball gets, coverage on ESPN. Yeah. I think kickball is the one activity that's so unique because it's not an activity that most adults identify as being like an adult sport that people really play.
You think people look at kickball as like a niche kind of sport, like a novelty, so to speak?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you think about kickball, it's the one sport that we offer that you could have never played at a collegiate level.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I think
but that could also be the beauty of it.
That's the beauty of it. That's absolutely, because my mom, she'll play kickball with me. She won't get on a basketball court with me. I think that the ceiling for participation is far higher than others. So, I mean. And that's just the truth of it. Like softball and flag football, a lot of these other sports, you have ex-collegiate athletes that get out there and they've performed in these activities at a high level. You can't say that about kickball. Right. And
go ahead, keep going.
And then what I was also about to say is, in addition to that, you don't have to be an outstanding athlete to perform well. I've seen the Kicking It for Cam tournament where Julio Jones can't even kick an underhand pitch, but he gets paid millions of dollars to play with the Atlanta Falcons and catch footballs that we probably couldn't catch. So these same balls that he can't kick, you or I will push them out the park. So I think that's the beauty of kickball too. Is like you don't have to be some just a pro athlete to excel and play well at this sport.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because at the Kicking with Cam tournament, I can't remember his name, but his YouTube handle is D Strong, I believe it's something like that. He played college football at I want to say Central Florida. He was the kid that the NCAA told him either stop the YouTube or stop playing football. Right. He was at the Kicking with Cam tournament, and he couldn't kick for nothing. But he played. He was a kicker in college, but he couldn't kick the kickball at the Kicking with Cam tournament. So just to co-sign what Arion said, and I can say this because I've played as well. All skill levels, no matter how tall or short you are, anybody can play. Now, one question I did want to ask: there's a lot of people who choose not to play kickball in general because they don't want to play with any professional kickballers. Right. With that being said, do you have divisions for your more serious players and then the ones who kind of want to come out there and just have fun?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me right now, being as closely tied to everything that we do with the kickball league, and when I say everything, I'm talking about even making the schedules. I'm still at a point where I can protect the newer players for the most part. And, and what I mean by protect them is this scheduling. So, we get a lot of new teams that come in and, if we have 4 or 5 new teams, we'll make sure that those new teams are kind of the ones playing each other, so you guys can get that experience while we kind of keep them away from the more experienced teams. And I think in doing that, everyone is getting what they want. Now, at some point, you're just gonna have to,
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's gonna happen. It's inevitable. But for the most part, we do a really good job of trying to protect the teams and the players to make sure that they're getting everything that they need. But moving forward, if we do, get to a point where we are able to grow larger, absolutely want to make sure that, we can kind of divide the two and allow, because at the end of the day, not just the entry level players, but the players that are competing at a high level, there's things that they are wanting to get out of kickball as well that they may not necessarily get if they play entry level teams. They want to plan, they want to prepare and get better for competition, like travel and things like that. And the way for them to get there is to play more experienced teams as well.
Because the stakes can be higher.
Stakes can be higher. Stakes can be higher.
Speaking of stakes, tell us how much money those winning teams got paid this past weekend.
So over the weekend, I paid out $10,000 cash. So if any one of you guys got any money that you want to let me borrow, I put some gas in my car.
We're a few months off.
So we paid $10,000 cash for the entire weekend. We paid $5,000 to the winning co-ed team on Saturday, and then I turned around and paid $5,000 to the women's team on Sunday, and they got paid on the spot cash.
Congratulations to whoever got that.
Yeah. So just think about it. You got people out here getting $5,000 for playing kickball.
I mean, we had one young lady. She played and she was on the winning team each day.
Ooh.
Nice.
She was the only player the entire weekend that played for the championship team from co-ed and championship team for women.
Good weekend for her.
Great weekend for her. Entire weekend paid for and all type of expenses that she could have taken care of.
Now, go ahead, Rodney.
So I got a scenario for you. So I'm a young entrepreneur.
Yes.
And I'm thinking about throwing in the towel on my dreams.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to me to keep going?
The thing that I would say to you to keep going, I would first say throwing in your towel is the biggest mistake that you can make. Mm-hmm. It's the biggest mistake that you can make because time, you got to give yourself time. Okay. And you just got to keep pushing. And what I always think about is if you do quit and then 2 years down the line, you go back and you think about it, it's like, man, if I kept going and by now, like, man, it would have been. And just don't give, no matter how hard the challenge may get, no matter how hard the obstacle could get, just keep going. Do not stop. That's actually my number one piece of advice to people. When you have a business that you're starting, don't stop. Okay. Don't give up. Do not quit. As cliche and as simple-minded as it sounds, just don't do it. Because you look at, like, the beauty of it is you, like myself, I think back to when I started 3 years ago, and I remember when, I just had started and this was all I was thinking about, and now I look at today and I just kept going. Had I had stopped when some of those challenges were thrown in my face, I wouldn't have been able to even be sitting here today having this conversation with you guys. So, you guys just, especially like with what you have now, I look at you guys are just getting started and really getting the name and building a great product here that you guys have. The number one mistake that you guys can make at this point is if you stop.
Gotcha.
Appreciate that.
Don't stop.
So to go more on a micro level, the kickball scene is exploding here in Charlotte.
It is.
And you kind of got people either doing it or talking about starting leagues left and right.
Right.
For somebody who wants to start a sports organization such as yourself, what advice would you give to those people?
None, because I'm in the sports organization.
Don't do it.
Hey, you can come work for them, but you can't come work with them.
No. Honestly, I would say you study the market, study the population. Know exactly what you want to create, and make sure that when you do it, you have your own identity.
Okay.
Because that's what's going to allow you to stand out and make your product and your brand unique to you. I mean, if you come out here and you're trying to start a league and you're literally doing the same thing as all of these other leagues out here, I think it'll be short-lived because the consumer, they kind of already have an existing they already have that. They already have their Big Mac, they have their Whopper. Like, what does your burger have that these two doesn't? So I think that you come out with a product that's unique and you would be able to survive. Doesn't matter how many leagues are out here, everybody can survive.
So I'm gonna ask you a personal question. Sure. So outside of Mars Sport, what brings Arion joy?
What brings me joy is my son, my family, like my wife, my son. He's 9 months and a few days, so he brings me joy. My friends, we just like to hang out. We actually We always talk just different business strategies and ideas whenever we get amongst ourselves. We're always talking about just honestly, like every time we hang out, you know, like every Tuesday we do Taco Tuesdays at one of our houses, and like literally the guys are just in the kitchen like, have you heard about this? Taco Tuesday. You know, have you heard about this way to kind of be strategic with the way you push your business out there? And like, you know, those are the kind of things that bring me joy. And you know, I'm real family oriented, so you know, like my mom, my dad, my brothers, my sisters, you know, we just that's just kind of how I'm very simple and very just, you know, that's it. That's what brings me joy.
Yeah, I'm glad you was able to tie the business in again. I got a question I'm gonna ask. It's very personal.
Okay.
But all my friends would be upset at me if I didn't ask this question.
Okay.
So, how much money you making, man? What's this money?
That's a Vince question.
Hey, the people want to know, and like, you don't have to put a dollar sign, but you know, it's a lot of people wanting to get into doing this. If I didn't ask this question, it's a lot of people in Charlotte right now that would be giving me crap for it. So I had to, and you can respectfully decline to answer the question.
I'll be very vague. I think we're doing pretty well at this point for ourselves, and well can be something different.
Hey man, well to me is a car with air conditioning.
We're doing well. We're doing well. You know, I think for us, you know, we're really starting to.
Hey man, we heard the payouts already.
I can't hand out $10,000.
We're really starting to become believers of what we've invested in, and what we I would say every single dollar, every dime that we've made with this organization, it's been our focus to reinvest it right back into the company, because we feel like by doing that you really give yourself an opportunity and a chance to one day pay $10,000 out to someone, right? So we're doing well. We're doing pretty well. The companies, we're in the green. I'll say that. We're in the green.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so one last thing before we get out of here. Let the people know how they can get in contact with you,
Absolutely. Man. So number one, first and foremost, is always social media. So our handle is Playmar Sports, and there's one S between Mars and Sports. And then our website is playmarsports.com. You can also reach us by text at any time, 704-412-1952. You have a general question or anything that you want to ask about the league, you can reach us by there too. And all of our social media, we're on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And Snapchat, but I don't really.
Yeah. Hey, Arion. Hey, straight up, man. I appreciate you coming on, man.
I appreciate you guys having me, man.
This means a lot. Much success going forward. If my knees ever get back right, I'll be back out there on the turf. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I've had my time.
Oh yeah, you was out there balling too, man. Like, Vince won't tell a lot of people. He really is like a superstar. We know. Vince really is like a superstar out there. Like, you know.
But hey, appreciate this, man. We'll definitely be linking up in the future. Much love, much success. Hey, appreciate everybody for watching. Appreciate you guys for listening, and we'll catch you next time. All right.
Peace.
I
appreciate it.